everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your host, Candy Washington, and I cannot wait to help you lead a more joyful life. But before we dive into today's episode of Sugar Pills, a practical guide to self-care, and I have with me a very special, beautiful, gorgeous guest, and I cannot wait to share all of her insights with you. But before we dive in, don't forget that if you need extra support on your journey to self-love and self-care, you can always grab our self-love journal, which is right here. It's an amazing companion piece. Also, be sure to check out all the links down below in our description box and show notes. You can get on our newsletter, which was 100% free, and you get a free self-love guide. We also have courses and coaching for you and other fun goodies. So just treat yourself and check out everything down below. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. I have the wonderful Sara Rae with me. She is an author, she's a podcaster, and she is a manifestation coach. And I cannot wait to dive in. So welcome, Sara.
Thanks for having me, Candy. I appreciate it. I loved having you on my podcast, so I'm
Yes.
excited to be on yours.
That's right, you guys. I was on Sara Rae's podcast, so be sure to check it out. It was all about self-forgiveness, and that's such a big, juicy, very sometimes overlooked, but extremely important topic. And I am honored to have her here with us today, talking all things manifestation.
Woohoo!
So, yeah, I can't wait. I'm jazzed. So, Sara, do you want to start out with just telling us a little bit about you and then your journey to manifestation and how you got into being a manifestation coach?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm Sara Rae. I host the Spiritually Inspired podcast. So if you're listening to podcasts, definitely check that one out. They jive very well together, these two ones, Sugar Pills and Spiritually Inspired. I am all about all things magical and mindful. And kind of manifesting just kind of eventually got lumped into that because I realized after having basically manifested successfully multiple times on repeat, I kind of realized what the secret sauce was, so to speak, or like what you kind of need to have in order to have a successful manifestation experience. But along the way, I also realized that manifesting is something we're always doing, right? So just I've been on a spiritually inspired path my whole life. And the last 10 years has been really purposeful. And I would say the last like 3-ish years has been really focused on law of attraction work and manifesting work. And the reason why I decided to pivot from being just an author to also being a manifesting coach is because when I had my baby almost exactly 2 years ago, I manifested my absolute perfect birthing experience despite intense amounts of anxiety and uncertainty, and a lot of symptoms going on with pregnancy as well. So that is really what solidified the process that has essentially become my manifesting program and my basis for all my coaching that I do. So that's kind of how I got into it. I've always loved spirituality, but from having manifested successfully so many times, I realized it's essentially the tricks to it.
I love that. So first, I want your opinion because I'm so excited for this. How do you define? I really am. How do you define manifestation? Like, what's the definition of manifestation for you?
Yes, I love solid questions like this. Manifesting is deliberate co-creation with the universe. That's how I define it, because the thing is that we are always manifesting. Like I said, it's something that you cannot not do. But the way I see manifesting is mindful manifesting or deliberate manifesting or manifest on purpose, the name of my program. So yeah, it's very much deliberately co-creating your reality with the universe. It's not the same as wishing, because that is just, putting things out there. The way I view manifesting is that it has to be a two-way street. The universe is putting in their half, you're putting in your half, and we can talk more in detail, obviously, about what that entails. But then together you are creating what is possible for you, your dream reality, things that you don't even realize are possible or within your reach. That's what manifesting is.
I love that. And I love that you make the distinction about deliberate because, like you said, we're always manifesting. Our beliefs are always manifesting. Our thoughts become things all of the time. But the difference is, are you doing it with intentionality? Are you doing it deliberately? Are you doing it within a vision? Are you doing it, just like you said, are you manifesting on purpose, purposeful? Or are you stuck in that autopilot and you think victimhood, everything's happening to me, because you lack the perspective that no, nothing's happening to you. You're actually creating everything. It's just whether or not you're creating it deliberately. And that's
Yes.
why people would come to someone like you, a coach, to say, hey, you know what? I feel like all of this stuff is happening in my life. I feel like I don't have control. I don't know what's going on, and I know that I have things I want to experience. How do I get from where I am to where I want to be? And I think that first step is exactly like you said, shifting your perspective from things are happening to me to things are happening through me, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say that's absolutely the first step. And
Yeah.
also another crucial thing is that people often realize that they feel stuck, right? And they
Mhm.
often feel like, this is what isn't working, I need help. But what they don't realize is that they deep down, they don't think what they want is possible. And not
Yeah.
from like a self-worth place, but a lot of people don't think that their dreams are possible. People every single day, mostly people that are close to me in my circle, tell me that it's not possible to do what you love for a living. That's you work
Mhm.
so you can do what you love as a hobby. That is like a solidified belief that I feel like is just in the collective right now, that we're all collectively working to get rid of. But
Mhm.
people don't believe that their manifestation is possible. So I feel like those are the two biggest hurdles you have to get through. And then once you move through those things, you get rid of victimhood, you realize what's possible, or your biggest dream is possible, then you're on the path to deliberate manifesting.
I love that. And you said you figured out the secret sauce. Do you want to share some of that sauce with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I wish I was more creative with my word choices, but I'm really not. You think as
No,
a
it's
writer I would be
good.
able to come up with something fancier, but but
Okay.
basically this is like a 4-phase manifesting system that we
Okay.
have here. I like to picture, because I'm a Libra, I like to picture a
Yeah.
4-point scale, because each of these scales represents one of each of these 4 phases. And we have to always be in balance, or like strive for harmony, strive for as much balance as we possibly can. And once that is all in balance, that's when manifesting is at its peak. So these 4 phases, really quick, they are mindset shifting,
Okay.
intuitive planning, purposeful action, and letting go. And I usually list them in that phase because that's usually how
Yeah.
most people go
Say
through it
those
the
four
first time.
again a
Yeah,
little bit slower, because I'm taking
absolutely.
notes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is
This
going
is
to be a workshop for everybody.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, this is the basis of my entire brand right here. So,
Yes.
mindset shifting,
Mm-hmm.
intuitive planning, purposeful action, and letting go.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I say them in that order typically because that's usually the first time you explore this idea. That's typically the route that you take. But the idea is that you're meant to interchange. You're meant to go, okay, I need to work on this a little bit. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to bounce. You're constantly working to keep that 4-point scale in balance or in harmony,
Mm-hmm.
depending if you like the word balance or not. Some people don't. But yeah, you're always working on that harmony. And then that's when you can really maximize your manifesting potential. And of course, each one of those has a bunch of different work within it, not just taking action. There's a bunch of different mini action steps you can take within each of those phases.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also how I can help people determine like where they are. Like I ask them some questions and it helps me pinpoint what phase is like way down here, or like what point of the scale is like way off, or what ones are way too high, so we can level
Mm-hmm.
things out.
Yeah. So for this first step, so the mindset shifting, I feel like that's what we kind of touched upon, like the mindset belief system of, I have the power to actually manifest deliberately. So therefore, things are happening for me and through me rather than just to me. And
For
then
sure.
also, I think you brought up a really great point, because sometimes we always talk about, work on your worthiness, but sometimes it's just working on your limiting belief of people in general. This just isn't the way the world works. And that's
Yes.
like kind of that belief that people have that keep them stuck, you
Yes.
know? I don't want to dive too much into like conspiracy theories, but I think there's a reason why 99% have a certain belief system while 1% doesn't. But that's for a
Mm.
whole other
We can save
conversation.
that for the next podcast
We can
because I
say that,
totally 100% agree.
right?
Yes,
It's like there is a reason
there
why.
absolutely is.
Yeah,
And it's fishy. We're just
and
gonna
it's
say
it's
it's
very
sus,
very
as the kids
fishy.
say.
100%. So it's also that mindset shift of yes, of course, self-worth, but also just in general, opening up your mind and opening up your spirit to the possibility of miracles or magic or whatever you want to call it. um that can happen in your life. And the only reason why we think that they're miracles or magic is because we're taught that they're impossible.
Yeah.
So when the impossible happens, we think that it must be a magic, it must be luck, it must be a trick or something. But it's like, no, it's not even magic. It's not even a miracle. It's not a luck or a trick. It's just you've actually tapped into your divine power that you've always had, but you were taught to ignore or
Right.
taught to not believe, right?
Right.
And so I love that mindset shift. So do you want to talk a little bit about intuitive planning?
Yeah. Yeah, these two go really well together.
Yeah.
They tend to bleed into each other. So
Mhm.
your intuitive planning, you have to get to it through your mindset shifting because you can't really plan what you're going to do unless you are really clear about what it is that you want. And you'd be
Mhm.
surprised that a lot of people once I start digging deep with them, they're like, "Oh wait, I guess I don't actually know what I want." Because I go, "Okay, why do you want that? Why do you want that? Why do you want that?" Just continuously asking why until I hear I don't know. That's when I know we're striking gold
Mhm.
because you have to be really clear. So that's mindset. That's more like where they bleed together.
Yeah.
But then when you are really clear, you can sort of work backwards. I don't like to get too like strict about what it takes to achieve goals because they do work very manifesting and goal achieving work very well together, and they're
Yeah.
basically just two ways of looking at the same thing, in my opinion anyway. But
Yeah.
we because of the next not the next one, because of the letting go phase, we have to be open. And I don't like to plan perpetually into the future, but you do need to get the ball rolling. So this is kind of like the manifesting contradiction here. You have to plan and then you have to take action, which is the next phase, right? I can
Mhm.
only coach you so much. At some point, you got to do something, right? Um, but you have to have that balance of that intuitive plan, but also letting go. Okay.
Gotcha.
So intuitive planning really comes from a place of knowing what it is that you really want that's in line with your soul purpose
Mhm.
and understanding that it is for you, it is possible. Also, what do I have to do to kind of tell the universe that I have to get there? And I can't answer that question for you without
Mhm.
sitting right in front of you and talking it out. But even then, that's where the intuition comes in. Your intuition is telling you, "Hey, you need to go explore this. You need to go in this direction, and that will take you where you need to go." I hope that
Mhm.
answers your question so far.
No, it does. It does. I like when I do my podcast interviews, I always like take notes because so
Oh
much
yeah.
comes up and it's so much
Yes.
fun. So much came up, and I love that. And I also love how you said how mindset shifting and intuitive planning, they're connected, which they really are. And what came up for me is like the shift in authority. I
Mm,
feel like when we're doing our mindset shift from the belief of what isn't possible, the authority is outside of you. It's what society told you is possible. It's what your parents told you is possible. It's what you saw on TV, what your sibling said, or the cool kids, or whatever the case is. Your the authority and power is outside of you. That's why you think this isn't possible for me, or I can't get that. But when you have intuitive planning, the authority, intuition inherently is from within. So now
yeah.
you're the authority of what you want and what your dreams and what your desires and what your goals are. And that's why you're saying a lot of people don't even know because they're always looking outside of themselves for validation and approval of who they should be and what they can have and what they should want. When
Mhm.
you
And
shift
how they get it.
and how they get it. Exactly. That's the key, and
Mhm.
how they get it. You have to work hard. Life is hard. You have to pay your dues.
Yeah, oh,
People like you don't get that, blah, 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 blah. Um, and so, right. But like you said, the intuitive shifts from within, and you talk and you're like, well, what do you want? What do you want? And you're like, I don't know. Well, you have to look in. And I also think a part of that shifting the authority to outside of me to inside of me, I think it gives us permission to own our desire, to
yeah,
own our dream, to own our goal, and to know that it's safe not only to want these things, but it's safe to have these things. Sometimes we're conditioned to think it's not safe to want a loving relationship. It's not safe to want money or to be rich,
yeah,
right? It's not safe to want an easy life, all of that stuff. So I think that, that shift, starting with the mindset and then going inward, it gives you permission not just to want your dreams, but to know that if you have them, you're still safe.
yeah. I like how you phrased that because every week in my Facebook group, we go live and do a Reiki share, and it's just very channeled. Almost always some form of "it is safe to have this, I am safe" will come through and be said.
Mhm.
And people are like, I really needed that. And they say, that's my favorite affirmation. It's safe to be successful. It's safe to
Yeah.
have money. It's safe to do all. Yeah. People often don't realize that they've been conditioned that they feel it's unsafe. And this is
Mhm.
why the work with a coach is so powerful, because you just don't know what you don't know. And it's not your fault.
Mhm.
Your ego put up the wall. And I love how you framed it as switching the authority from outside of me to within me, because that is what's
Mhm.
empowering. What's
Oh,
more
yeah.
empowering than realizing you're in control? And the mindset shifting phase really illustrates that, because you realize A, you're in control of your thoughts, B, you're in control of your actions, and C, you're in control of how people perceive you to a certain extent, right? So you have a
Mhm.
lot more control than you think you do. Again, not to go too deep into conspiracy theories, but they don't want you to think that you do.
I love a conspiracy theory.
The
That's
world,
the thing.
the mysterious group of people that rule the world,
Yep,
they do not want you to realize how powerful you actually are, like for real. And
exactly.
that's part of why this work is so prominent right now, is people are waking up. Not to go too far into the conspiracy thing, but that's just a
Yeah.
spiritual awakening. Like,
Yeah.
people to realize that have your own power and you are your own authority, and it
Mhm.
is safe to do that. Like, what's really going to happen? Like,
Yeah.
no.
Like, it's fine. Like, it's
Right.
totally
No,
fine.
exactly. So it's not nearly as scary as people think that it is either.
Mhm. Yeah, once you cut out the limiting beliefs that were put in place on purpose to keep people stuck, keep
Yeah.
people on a hamster wheel, keep people in line, essentially. Once you shift out of that, then you really step into your intrinsic divine power and authority that you have, that
Yes.
they're all tapping into. Because this is the biggest secret, you don't have to be a good person. You don't
Oh,
even
yeah,
have to
no.
have good intentions to get what you want, to manifest, all of that stuff, because
Yep.
the law works universally at all times, and it's universal. So whether or
Mhm.
not your attention is good, if you work the law of attraction, if you work the law of assumption, if you work these things, it's going to work for you.
Yep.
That's why there's a lot of quote bad people who have everything they want in the world. Power,
Right.
money, access, love, all of it. And then there's also really good people who just can't get ahead. Bad things keep happening to them. They can't get what
Good
they
people
want in
finish
the world.
last.
Good people finish last, all of that stuff. So it's not even about that. It's about tapping into your divine power that lives within you, whether you're quote good or bad. And sometimes that's even just subjective. You
Yeah. Oh,
know?
it absolutely is, for sure. And I
Yeah.
love how this conversation went this direction, because people need to realize that we are all equal in the
Yeah.
eyes of the universe, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, they have certain privileges, and we can't deny these sorts of things in the world, right? And part of that, I believe, is part of what's for this life in this earth school for our soul. But
Hmm.
also, you can go anywhere. You have free will to do and learn anything,
Yeah.
and you can choose to disregard what people tell you, or you can take them to heart, which is the default, by the way.
Yeah.
Or you can specifically choose what comes and stays into your space, because that's huge too. Yeah.
100%. I think that should be the most empowering thing in the world, is
Yeah.
that it actually does not matter who you are. Every single person, as long as you have breath, as long as you have life, you have the potential to tap into your intrinsic power, no matter what the circumstance is. That should be the most empowering thing ever. That's how you have some people who are homeless and then they become millionaires. And that's how sometimes you have people who are millionaires and they end up being homeless because it works all the time. And it's no, what's the word?
It
Whatever.
doesn't discriminate.
It doesn't discriminate. It's it's
Yeah.
it's all there. It's intrinsic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Because it is intrinsic to life. Because your animals
exactly.
are like that too. Your plants are like that too. They
Hmm.
just don't consciously think of the law of attraction the way
Yeah,
that we do, but they are also experiencing it. Like, plants either attract what they need or they don't, right?
yeah.
So,
Now,
yeah.
how do you define, and then we'll get into the action and letting go part, but how do you define the law of attraction?
Yeah. So it is, like you mentioned, a universally applicable law to everybody that that is basically, it's hard to not. It's hard to paraphrase such a simple definition because
Yeah.
most people say like attracts like, but that is true.
Mm-hmm.
But what, and I see I've done like 100 podcast episodes about this to clearly define the law of
No, it's
attraction.
really
Is
fun.
your energetic blueprint
Yeah.
is emanating out from you, and the universe is simply responding to that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what makes it a law. It's because it's never not doing this. Some people hear the word law and they think, well, where's the proof? And I get asked this a lot. Where's the evidence? The evidence is that you always attract more of what you think of is true. So your brain is reinforcing what it believes to be the truth. And that's another way to look at the law of attraction, because that's the neuroscience side of it.
Mm-hmm.
What your brain believes to be the truth comes from your subconscious, comes from the inner monologue, your affirmations, whatever, the limiting beliefs and all that we've already talked about, that's in your head constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's so much information, your brain has to filter through it. So it decides what's true, and then it always looks to reinforce what it believes is true because it's easier and takes less energy. So let's just say you decide that you want to buy a pink Volkswagen. Okay. So you go, hey, I want to manifest a pink Volkswagen. You do the affirmations, you do all the stuff, all the things. And all of a sudden you start realizing and seeing pink Volkswagens everywhere. Like, how often do you really see a pink Volkswagen? But you're like, hey, I just saw 3 this past
Yeah.
week. That is the law of attraction at work, because you're shifting your brain to focus on something else. Therefore, you're changing your energetic blueprint, and the universe responds to that. This is why the mindset shifting phase is so important, because
Right.
your brain needs to literally be rewired to manifest and attract different energy. So it's not like a nice, clear definition, because honestly, I don't really have one. But
it sounds a lot more
yeah.
like the law of assumption. Have you gotten into that? Like, I follow more the law of assumption. Like, I'm a big Neville Goddard person. Like, I love Neville.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm really more into, and let me know what you think. Like, for me, the law of attraction it's more of like a lifestyle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Spiritually inspired lifestyle.
Yeah, to me, I think it's more of like a mental, because I love talking about like mental lifestyles. It's just like my little thing. I should like trademark this because I'm like so into it. But to me, it's more of like a mental lifestyle, be mindfulness. Where if I'm like feeling bad, or when I'm like focusing on the wrong thing, to me, the law of attraction is like, hey, you know what? I want to feel better because I want to show appreciation to what I have, and whatever I appreciate, through the law will come back to me. So if I'm thinking about something bad and I change my mindset to think about something good, and I'm appreciating, health, I'm appreciating freedom, I'm appreciating whatever it is, then, God, the universe is going to give me more of what I'm appreciating back to me, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of like the like-attract, where if I'm saying, thank you for this, it's like, oh, you want that? You like that? We'll give you more of that. Yeah. But like the law of assumption, and I think the law of attraction and law of assumption, they work like right hand in hand, is more of what is your belief system, and what you actually believe is what shows up for you. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if I believe, and if I change my subconscious mind, or if I switch my mindset to believe that this is what I'm experiencing, or this is what I'm worthy of, or this is what I'm deserving of, then the universe, our reality, has no choice but to reflect that back to us. Because if you go around thinking, the world is horrible, nothing good ever happens to me, there are no good men out there, I'm not worthy of this, then you're going to keep experiencing things that reinforces what you believe. So whatever you assume to be true will be true.
Yeah, absolutely. And those thoughts are creating an energetic blueprint that is affecting how the energy that you radiate out, which is also contributing to the fact that you can continue to see nothing but horrible people, or whatever you're assuming to be true. So yes, we are assuming things, therefore they get reinforced. Mm-hmm. And because everything is energy, we are creating like an energetic ripple out to the universe that the universe is responding to. So yeah, they're two sides of the same coin, if you ask me.
I think they're the two that work together. So it's like the law of assumption, like what is my belief system, right? So if I believe, I am the owner of a pink Volkswagen, right? So it's like in my mind, like, because we could like workshop it, right? Yeah. So it's like, say what your goal is to be an owner of a pink Volkswagen, and you don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to, like, you don't know any of like the how stuff. That's for God and the universe and divine to decide. But you know, you want that pink Volkswagen. So I'm going to say, okay, that's what I want. And I'm going to do my affirmations and maybe scripting, and we can get into some of the other techniques in a little bit. But let's just say affirmations, right? So I'm going to tap into my law of assumption, and I'm just going to assume, I'm going to affirm, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now the owner of a pink Volkswagen. I love driving my pink Volkswagen. I feel so good in my pink Volkswagen, blah, 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 blah. So now you are assuming you're stepping into the embodied version of yourself that has that pink Volkswagen. And
Yes.
since that's where you are now landing energetically, that's where you are, that's who you be. Now through the law of attraction, you're going to attract that energy back to you of being that version in your reality of the person who has the pink Volkswagen.
Yes. So what you just described was the perfect addition of the mindset shifting phase.
Yeah.
So now that you are essentially activating a different energy in your body, you go on to intuitive planning. What am I going to do to get the Volkswagen? Okay, I'm going to call around. I'm going to expand my search. I'm going to, be willing to go outside the states or whatever, whatever needs to do. You're going to take certain action steps, but you're not going to focus too hard about what the steps are. You're just going to get the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the intuitive planning phase, right? You're like going to start calling around, doing all that stuff. And now as you're taking action, you're letting go a little bit. You're saying, hey, I trust the universe. I trust all this. I know what's going to happen. And then it happens. And I also want to bring up the, this whole idea of like trying to manifest something very specific versus being really general. Like both of them are really possible. Like you absolutely could manifest exactly what it is that you're looking for if you are in perfect divine alignment with that. Not like your energy necessarily, but like if that is part of your soul path, that it is not interfering with what your soul purpose is in any way. If it's something that can support you from a spiritually inspired soul perspective, then yes, it will manifest in your life. If not, something bigger and better will. So maybe not a pink Volkswagen, but maybe something that you didn't even realize you wanted, right? So I kind of mentioned that at the beginning, that a lot of things come to us that we never realized we wanted. But you can also focus on manifesting feelings. And I find that this is really good for people who are already like kind of in that spiritual place, like they already kind of live a spiritual lifestyle. It's a lot easier for them to manifest feelings than it is to manifest specific things. So let's just say instead of a pink Volkswagen, I just want to manifest a pretty car that gets me from A to B that I love. So there's the difference here. And I tend to go that route of manifesting because that's where I am on my journey, but I help people in all regards. Because I find that some people get a little disappointed if they don't manifest the perfect pink Volkswagen, right? They're like, oh, well, this is what I wanted. It's not working. This doesn't work. This isn't real. When I'm like, okay, well, first off, did you believe it was possible? We go through all the tick boxes we already went through. And then second, it's like, were you truly working on the feeling that you want to manifest, not just the thing, Yeah. So instead of focusing so hard on just that one specific thing, that's not leaving the universe enough wiggle room to work its magic.
Yeah.
So you have to leave the universe enough wiggle room. This is why I keep saying you have to get the ball rolling, but you have to be open to where the journey takes you.
No, 100%. And I'm so happy you brought up the magic to happen, because I know for me, whenever I'm focused on like one thing, like this actually just happened last week. I was shopping for a new car, and I had a very, very specific car in mind that I wanted, but then I was also looking for another very specific car, which was like exactly like my last car. And so I was kind of conflicted because I was like, I really want this one type of car, but I was like looking for this other one. And so I was kind of like conflicted, and I just said, you know what, God, let my decision be clear and let it be easy. Let it be clear and let it be easy. Because I find that when I'm uncertain or I'm not sure, I always think, well, why am I leaning on just like me? Like when I have God, I have the universe, I have divine feminine energy, I have guardian angels, I have I have everything at my disposal. Yes, I have my own intuition, but why not tap into all of that is literally just waiting for me to say help.
Exactly.
They're waiting for you to say help. Literally, they are here to help us and to
Sitting on the
assist
edge of their seats, waiting.
sitting on their edge of their seats. So I just said, you know what, God, like guardian angels, Holy Spirit, I was like, just make my decision clear and make it easy. Whatever it is supposed to be, just make it clear and make it easy. And so I was looking at different cars and I was like, you know what, it didn't sit right, so I didn't get it. And then the car ended up getting, the decision was very clear. It was on the same exact date that I had gotten my other car, Valentine's Day, my little gift to myself. And it was very easy. The process was smooth. It was super easy. Like, it was literally, the whole transaction was like under like 15, 20 minutes. It was fine. And I was like, okay, so this is clear and this is easy. This is great. And then I also say, like when I have very specific things in mind that I want, like I want this amount, or I want this, or I want that. And I say, but I ask you to show up and show out in my life. Like I give you full reign to surprise and delight me. I am open and ready to receive your magic and your miracles in my life.
Yep.
Because it's like, I might know what I want. I might know I really want this, but maybe there's something way more spectacular out there.
Exactly. Like,
And
dream
asking
your
for that
biggest dream.
and asking for that divine help and assistance, and letting it be easy and letting it be clear. Because
Yes,
a
I
lot of
love
people operate that life has to be hard, it has to be difficult, you have to struggle, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
I don't believe that.
It's a
I
soft life
believe
for
life is
me.
easy. No, I totally agree. I absolutely agree. That's amazing.
Yeah. And one
This is
affirmation.
essentially the letting go phase. Not only
Yeah.
am I open to receive surprises, spiritual surprises, but I trust that the universe is going to deliver. The
Oh,
universe is not going to leave me hanging. The
100%.
universe wants me to be delighted and excited. The universe wants me to have the pink Volkswagen, okay?
It
God
does.
truly does. God cares about the trivial things that we care about.
Yeah,
This
I'm
isn't
very important to God. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
I
his
love
daughter.
that.
He loves me, Yeah.
Absolutely.
You
And,
know,
if it makes us happy, why can't we have it? So a lot of people also feel like they have to save their manifestations for the big things. I want to manifest $1 million to donate to my favorite charity, and that is beautiful. A great place to start if you really are struggling with wanting to manifest things for yourself. A lot of people, a lot of women specifically,
yeah,
also struggle with that. But God wants you to have everything that delights you. Because why not? You're
why
not
not?
meant to suffer. God
No,
wants you to be happy, because when you're
yeah,
happy, God's happy because you are God, right?
100%. And he wants us to have life, and he wants to have it more abundantly. And also, it goes to what we talked about earlier. We're always manifesting. So the
Mhm.
idea of saving a manifestation literally doesn't exist. You can't save a manifestation. You're simply just manifesting lack. When you
Right.
could be manifesting overflow and abundance, you're manifesting lack. So you're not saving a manifestation, you're manifesting lack, because we're
Absolutely.
always manifesting. Everything that
Exactly.
we experience is just a manifestation of what our belief system is. If you believe, oh, I have to save this manifestation for abundance, then what you're saying is, I'm actually calling in the manifestation of lack, because you
Mhm.
believe you have to wait, you believe you have to suffer, you believe you, like, the big stuff isn't for you right now, or whatever the case is, or there's only so much. That's also scarcity mindset. Why would
Right.
you think you only have enough for one big manifestation? That doesn't make
Right.
any sense.
Or
You have
that it's not
limits.
going to happen if it's not a big thing. Like,
Yeah,
manifesting small things seems like, why would I waste my time? Or that's not, again, God doesn't care about that, which is just not
mm-mm.
true, right?
It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. And like we said, we're always manifesting.
Right, exactly.
So
So you might
it's
as
like,
well.
why, like, little big, it's all the same. That's really funny. What are some of your favorite techniques? Oh no, this is what I wanted to ask you when it came up. I don't know, are you into like Florence Gewelschin at all?
That name does not sound familiar. Can you tell me, like, their
Yeah,
work?
she's a philosopher, spiritual person from, like, I want to say the 1700s or the 1900s.
Sure.
check it's, you guys can Google it, Florence Scovel Sheen. But she's very into like the law of assumption and the law of attraction. And she says like her word is her wand. And she talks a lot about affirmations. And it reminded me because one of her affirmations is, I'm the daughter of the Most High King and everything makes way for me. And I really take that to heart. Like when we were
Yeah.
talking earlier about like, God loves you and wants you to have a good life. And I say that all the time. I'm like, I'm the daughter of the Most High King and everything makes way for me. And another affirmation I use is everyone loves me and wants to make my life easier. Like everyone,
I love that one. I'm totally
I mean,
absolutely.
and I say it in the times where it's like the most difficult, where I'm like,
Yep.
this is when I just need to like sit back and I'm just like, you know what? Everyone loves me and wants to make my life easier. Everyone
I
loves
love
me and
that.
wants to make my life easier. Like everyone does. They want to make life easier. It's great. And you would be surprised how the world shows up for you differently when you just decide it.
Yep.
When you
Absolutely.
just say, you know what, this is who I be and this is who I'm showing up as. Everyone loves me and wants to make my life easier. I'm the daughter of the Most High King and everything makes way for me. My life is so easy. It's so carefree. I'm so supported, right? So like I love that.
And then you let go of the need for it to be that way, and then it becomes like a lot of people try
Exactly.
to manifest abundance from a place of desperation, so they really struggle
Mm-hmm.
with the letting go phase. So they go, "You know what? Everyone loves me and wants to make my life easy," and then they say, "Everyone loves me and wants to make my life easy. Everyone loves me and wants to make," like they say it from not really a true place of embodiment. So if you feel
100%.
like the law of attraction isn't working for you, or if it's just you're having a hard time, try to check yourself and see, like,
Mm-hmm.
are you coming from a selfish place? Are you coming from a scarcity place? Even though you're using the word abundance, that's super common. Like people
Mm-hmm.
basically, I caught this in myself for the longest time. I only focused on manifesting abundance. I literally did not care about manifesting anything else. So what do you
Mm-hmm.
think I manifested?
More
Lack.
lack.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
once I started to realize that abundance comes in so many forms and I can truly embody it that way, and I can let go and you say, hey, this is how it is. I assume it to be this way, even though I didn't know the law
Mm-hmm.
of assumption words back then. It's like,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
assuming this is true. I am assuming the universe is going to bend over backwards for me. Therefore, I let go of the need to be in control of it, the need to know the details. That's a big one. The
That's a
need
big
to
one.
know exactly
Let
what's
go of
going to
the
happen.
how.
That's that's hard. It's hard for a lot of people because the ego needs the how. And like I said, you have to start intuitive planning at some point, but you only do like a little bit. You do like 10% of the planning. And then you can keep going because you're gonna go somewhere else. Like unless you
Yep.
already are able to predict like your absolute most perfect dream scenario that God wants for you, which I promise you cannot do. That is
Yeah.
beyond your human ability. You truly don't know what God has waiting for you. So you have to
Yeah.
be willing to change and pivot. You have to be willing to go somewhere else, similar to what you were talking about with your experience.
Yeah. And a couple things came up when you were talking. One was, when you're in that place of desperation, because a lot of people come to manifestation, whether it's law of attraction, law of assumption, all of it, just like you said, from a place of, lack and desperation, where it's like, I really want to I need money, or I really want to get my ex back, which is a whole nother
Oh
conversation.
God,
And
no.
like all of that stuff, right? So they're coming from this place of desperation. And so I think, one way to sort of like clear it up is like, okay, well, if you can't go from where you are energetically, and like we get it, we totally get it. I think we've all been there, and that's what kind of starts all of our spiritual journeys. Usually like 90% of people, they hit a point of crisis, and then that is actually what jumpstarts their spiritual journey. Some people can get there from straight joy. That's my now affirmation. I'm like, if I have to learn any other lesson, God, let it be from a place of joy. I'm done with the suffering. I'm done with
Ooh,
the
I like
crisis.
that one too.
Like I'm done. Like, because you can elevate from joy or from suffering. Just usually it's from suffering.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing you can do is say, you know what, I'm open to knowing that everything's working out for me. Like I'm open to learning how to love myself. I'm open to learning to knowing that I'm a great manifester. I'm open to learning blah, 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 whatever the affirmation is, right? Like I'm open to it. And I think if you start with an openness, if you can't get to that affirmation and like feel it and mean it and want it, it's it'll get you there. Or like I'm going to know, like setting it into it. And I think that's a good way to ease people depending on like where they are into it. And then another thing that I always say is like, everything's always working out for me in my favor. And if it's not working out for it, I do a little trick and I kind of laugh and I go, I can't wait to see how God's going to work this out for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like that
Yeah.
curiosity to it, and it's that part of letting go where it's like, shit's really hitting the fan right now. But I can't wait to see how God's going to turn this in my favor. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see how the universe is going to surprise and delight me. And that's kind of how you stay in the knowing that maybe I don't understand why this is happening. Maybe this is not a good thing like that I'm perceiving in this particular moment. But I know in the end, I know once it's all said and done, God, universe, whoever you want to say, the divine is going to work it in my favor. And I can't wait to see how that's going to happen. I can't
Yeah.
wait to see how this is going to, follow in my favor. Because I think those types of affirmations and those types of, shifting your belief system really is what gives you hope.
Yeah. Hope
And
is the most powerful
is the
energy
most
right next to
powerful
love.
thing.
Mhm.
Exactly. It's really what gives you hope, where it's like, all right, you know what? The money isn't flowing in right now, or I can't believe this bill came in, or I can't believe this person doesn't love me the way I love them, or I can't believe blah 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 blah. Wow. I can't wait to see how God's gonna turn this in my favor.
Yeah.
You have the hope that you're gonna get through it, and not just through it, but you're gonna be better for it.
Right. Right. And you know that God will deliver. That trust is so important. And then when God
100%.
does deliver, your trust is deepened.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have to keep your eyes peeled. Like, and this kind of circles back to making room for the magic, the universe to work its magic, that it can come to you in a really unexpected way. It might be
Mm-hmm.
resolved in a way that seems out of left field to you. So you have to keep your eyes peeled. You have to be open to interpreting things in a different way. Because things
100%.
often hide in plain sight. Solutions, abundance, whatever, it's often right there. That's
Yeah.
also a conspiracy theory thing, but we won't go down there.
We can do it another time because I love a good conspiracy
Oh
theory. I'm
God,
like,
me too.
they're
That was
all
one of my
trying to
favorites.
get us. We're not sheep. We can do this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure. For sure. What are some of your favorite manifestation techniques?
Yeah.
And what do you think the purpose of a technique is?
Yeah. So the technique is the thing that's tangible. I'm assuming most of you, because I'm this way too, that we like tangible things. One of the reasons why I love crystals so much, because I can
Mm-hmm.
pick up a crystal and hold it in my hand, and it's easier for me to perceive things. I can pick up my pencil and physically write my affirmation. God is
Mm-hmm.
bringing me joy and abundance, and I see
Yes,
it. So
he is.
I feel I feel like part of it makes it a lot more tangible, a
Yeah.
lot more real, and that helps people transform their energy. That helps people shift from thinking this way to thinking that way. Some people who are a little bit more well versed in their spiritual experiences and their spiritual specialties are able to just think their way into manifesting something new. I would say
Mm-hmm.
that's like advanced manifesting. For the average person, for
Yeah.
most people, you do need techniques. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. My whole life is, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, always, right? Been doing this my whole life, but doing it mindfully for a long
Yeah.
time. And I still do all these techniques. So scripting is the number one thing. You mentioned it briefly.
Yeah.
That's essentially when you're journaling the narrative of your dream, the narrative of your
Mm-hmm.
dream life, as if you were a novel writer and you're writing your own story, but you have to write it in the present tense. So you're saying, I wake up in my beautiful house, I go to my in-house library and I read my favorite book. You have to phrase it the same way you would phrase your affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
Scripting is so, so powerful. And then this is the second technique. It's not really a tangible thing so much as, but it helps you. You take your scripting, you read it over, and you visualize it in your head. So you're holding your journal, you're reading what you just wrote in the active present tense. It's basically one long affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
and you're visualizing. So that's two techniques right there that you can do right next to each other, right off the bat. And this will help you, like I said, drop into that space of embodiment and embrace what it is that you're trying to manifest as if you already have it. Another thing I really like to do is, this isn't a super creative way to phrase this, but I like to catch things red-handed. So
Yeah.
I like to notice, like, hey, abundance. Like, I will give you an abundance example. So my cousin is getting married in July. So I
Okay.
booked a super cute hotel in this
Mm-hmm.
adorable little town. It's like a boutique bed and breakfast. And I'm like, yes, I'm all over that. But it was like really expensive. I was like, oh man, my budget only maxes out at 2 nights. I was kind of bummed because I wanted it to be like a fun
Mm-hmm.
vacation. Well, I told my mother-in-law, and she goes, I already booked us a house for like 5 nights.
Yes.
And she's like, I already paid for it, all the stuff. And so, yeah. And so right there, when she told me that, I literally said out loud, abundance right there. My
Yeah.
husband does this often too, where he'll like find a random $20 bill and he'll be like, abundance. And like, that happens all the time. Random
Yep.
checks in the mail are a real thing. We get them all the time. Abundance.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to call it out, catch it red-handed right in the moment. And again, that helps you drop into that energy of embodiment, and it helps you realize the truth of your affirmation, which I feel
Yep.
like is really powerful, because you can state an affirmation and some of us are like, well, that's not true. But then when
Mm-hmm.
you catch the truth of it, when you see the evidence before your eyes, you can't tell yourself that's not true anymore. Um,
Yep.
that's such a huge realization for so many of my clients, where I go, oh, well, you can't say you're not a professional anymore because you just got paid to do that thing. And they're like, oh, so I am a
Exactly.
professional. And then all of a sudden, their affirmations are amplified because there's truth behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you catch it red-handed, when you see it in the moment, live, out in the wild, as it is, it enforces the belief. So that's a really powerful technique as well. And there's a million that you've
Yeah.
heard 1,000 times. Stating your affirmations, doing your meditation, which I think is a requirement for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Reiki, this is a great technique that I like to do. I like to make a Reiki box. You can
Okay.
do this without Reiki as well. You can do it with crystals too. But I like to have a Reiki box, and it's really pretty because I like pretty things. So
Yeah.
I write on a little piece of paper and I say what it is I want to manifest. I'll use an example, which was carry a baby. And I put that in my Reiki box 5 years ago. And, my baby's 2 years old now. And I gave it Reiki and I just set it there. And I just know they're like my big dreams, like my really things that I know are many steps away from where I am right now, but I
Yeah.
want to manifest them now. So I say, put them there, give it Reiki, let it there. And I know the universe is working on it on my behalf. And it's really fun when you're able to leave it for a while and then go back to it and you open it up and you forgot some things and how they manifested. Another one that I wrote was become a published author. That's
Mm-hmm.
happened. So
Yeah.
working on manifesting in the background is really great. A more popular version of this is a vision board. Very
Mm-hmm.
similar idea. But again, don't just put a picture of the pink Volkswagen on there. Put a picture of you feeling free, because that's really what
Yeah.
you're going for, right? The car brings you liberation. So yeah, a lot of techniques, a lot of
I love
different ways to manifest things.
I love it. I love those. I'm a huge fan of scripting.
Yeah.
I love scripting and writing out my affirmations. And I do sort of like I almost do like a journal, like a scripting journal meets a vision board. So I have
Yeah.
like a big notebook. I wish I could get it if it's in the other room, like a big notebook, and I have like different images that I've like printed out, and I have that on one side of the sheet will be like all the images and like all of that, and then on the other side of the sheet I'm like scripting and affirming and
Mhm.
all of that. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And since we're also talking about law of assumption, and I'm such a Goddard head, like I love Neville Goddard, like I need to calm down a little bit. I'm such a dork for him. I love it. If he was still alive. Anyway, but he always talks about living in the end, which is like the embodiment of having your manifestation. And that's exactly what you're saying. Like that's what the techniques get you into, is living in the version of you, the embodied state that already has it. That's
Yes.
why when you're scripting, you're like, I'm so happy that today we did blah, 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 as if you are almost like remembering the experience of it. I think Joe Dispenza talks about this
Yeah,
a lot too. He's
for
like,
sure.
are you just replaying past memories? So you're just remembering the past and that's what's regurgitating now in your present and future. But if you, visualize, if you meditate on, different images and different, little, I forgot what they called, but just like little like imaginal acts, right?
Mhm.
Being in the car and like feeling the
Right.
freedom or whatever it is, then you're deliberately creating and living in your future.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
really, and then that's what calls it into your 3D reality.
Right.
Because
Because
if
you
in your mind, oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
exactly, it's in your mind, and you have to
Yeah.
bypass the how. You're basically just going, "I'm here now. That's where I want to be. Jump," because
Jump.
the
Yeah.
universe takes care of the how. So because you
It's
don't
the
need to know that.
quantum leap.
Yeah.
Like, it's the
Yes.
quantum leap from where I am. Am I going to be stuck in just thinking what I see around me is real and that's the only thing that's available? I'm just going to replay the past over and over. Or am I going to quantum leap into the version of me that already has what it is I want, that already
Absolutely.
has my desire? I'm living in the end. I'm embodying who that is. And then the world, the 3D reality, has no choice but to meet me where I'm at now.
That's the
you
law.
know That's the law. That's the law,
Mhm.
and like you said, showing appreciation, like abundance, like, oh, you want abundance, to appreciate that, we'll give you more, we'll give you more, we'll give you more, because that's the state you're embodying. You're embodying the
Right.
state of appreciation. So then, the world, God, the universe is going to give you more things to appreciate, because that's the state you're embodying. But when you're embodying the state of, I don't have anything, nothing works out for me, blah, 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 then it's like, well, if that's who you be, then that's what you're going to get,
Exactly.
and the techniques gets you into it. Another technique that they do is called SATs. It's called, I don't know if you heard of this. It's great. It's called, it's SAT. So it's a state akin to sleep. And it's basically like meditating and getting really deep inside, and then visualizing whatever imaginal act, like in your imagination, that represents you living in the end, the embodiment of your manifestation, and you kind of just fall asleep to that. Or you
Yeah.
fall asleep in it, whether you're
Oh,
taking
I
like
have
a
a name for what I do every night now. Nice.
yeah, it's called
I
SAT. It's called a state
Cool.
akin to sleep. Like you
I do
should
that every single night.
you should check out Neville Goddard. I think
Oh,
that
yeah. I didn't know I've read, like, once a long time ago. So,
yeah. Yeah, I'm just like, if you want to talk about it, like, call me, like, we'll
okay.
chat, we'll chat, we'll chat,
And
which is
what's fun
great.
about these techniques is that they will bring up your blocks. This is what I like to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, doing these techniques are going to show you exactly what your manifesting ceiling is so you can bust through it. The universe is not
Mhm.
shy in telling you what needs to happen. So let's just say you start doing these techniques, you start the scripting, and all of a sudden you're like, I can't get past what my job is. That's the universe telling you that's your manifesting ceiling and you need to work to bust through it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So don't skip out on
100%.
all of these techniques. Don't
Yeah.
just say, and then turn us off and then, forget we were talking in 2 minutes. Go out and do the things, okay?
Exactly. Do the things. And another thing that you can do, and I think you touched upon this, but doesn't cost anything. You don't need anything. It's just inner conversations, inner dialogues. Like, might sound a little frou-frou, but they say, and like I do this, I have inner conversations. Like if there's something that I want to manifest or have a certain experience, like I will hear, it's called like the congratulations thing, and also just like inner dialogue. Like I'll hear someone saying, oh, congratulations, Candy, on your new car. Congratulations on, your promotion. Congratulations on being pregnant, or congratulations on your baby celebrating their third birthday. Like
Yeah.
whatever it is, like you have those like inner conversations and dialogues with a person or whatever.
Sounds like they're your spirit guides talking to you.
Maybe it
Are
might
they
be
in
the
different
spirit
voices,
guide,
Candy?
but
Like
I
when you
have
hear,
this. Oh, go
are
ahead.
they in different voices when you hear these voices?
So what I do, I don't hear outside voices. I pick a person that's like in my life.
Okay.
Because I follow like the Neville Goddard technique.
Okay. I was going to say, are you just like hearing voices in your head, girlfriend? People are just talking to you.
No,
You don't
that'd
know
be a
what's
little
happening.
that'd be like a welfare check on Candy. Wellness check. No, it's called inner conversations or inner dialogue. So what I no, it's inner conversations. It's inner
Yeah, because the
conversations.
dialogue already is there, right?
Yeah, the dialogue is already there. Where it's, you take someone who's like already in your life, or someone that and like it doesn't have to be in. I'm good at, I can recreate the way the person talks, but it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be. You just have to know who you're talking to. Who, like, if your manifestation already came to pass, this would be an authentic conversation you would have. Like, say you want to manifest a new house, and you know that your mom would be the first person you called, or maybe it's your husband, or maybe it's whoever it is, and you in your mind hear your husband say, wow, I'm so happy that we have our new house, I can't wait to see how you decorate it. And you say, thank you, I'm so excited to decorate it too. Like, you're having that inner conversation with the person who you would naturally have a conversation with,
Mhm.
celebrating your manifestation coming to pass.
I see it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
it's
And it's
really good.
also, again, really tangible because the whole idea of the technique is to bring it down into our earth lives. So we have to
Mm-hmm.
ground. We can't live up here in our higher chakras forever as much as we would like to because we are humans, right? That's
Exactly. Yeah.
awesome.
So much fun. Well, thank you, Sarah. This has been awesome. This has been
Yeah,
so much fun. I know my cup is full and overflowing.
always.
Yes. So if
It's
there
always
was,
a pleasure chatting with you.
oh, you too. You too. So if there was one kernel of wisdom, one nugget that you wanted to leave us with, what would that be?
It's that you are not dreaming big enough. That is my kernel of wisdom, because again, like I said earlier, no matter how big you're dreaming, no matter how intense you think you're dreaming, no matter what it is, I promise you that God has more in store for you. So your dream is never, ever, ever big enough, because God is endless in his bounty and in his love for you. So you have to make sure that you are leaving wiggle room. So by
Yeah,
saying you're not dreaming big enough, that's my way of saying allow the universe to deliver what you're worthy of.
absolutely. Oh, I love that. Create the space for magic and miracles.
Yes.
Yeah, God wants to surprise and delight you. Yeah,
Yes. Absolutely.
100%. And everything will be linked down below to connect with Sara. But do you want to just tell us where we can find you, where we connect with you, and also more about manifesting on purpose?
Yes. Thank you
Yes.
for that. Yes. So my podcast is at spirituallyinspired.co/podcast. You can find Spiritually Inspired and my big old mug there on any podcast app, no matter where you're listening to this. You can find me on there. Yes. And my program, Manifest on Purpose, is a 4-week coaching and healing program, because I am also a crystal Reiki master. So while we are coaching and busting through your manifesting ceiling for 4 weeks in a row, we're also doing quiet Reiki. So our sessions are a little bit longer. They're a little bit more intuitively guided for exactly what you need. But the idea is that each week is essentially dedicated to each of these phases. And honestly, I've seen people change their entire lives. Women have gotten pregnant, women have gotten engaged, women have met amazing people,
Oh,
women have moved. And this is a 4-week program. So it's incredibly high value. It's awesome. I've been doing it for a long time now. It's wonderful. So you can go to spirituallyinspired.co/manifest if you want to learn more about that. Or just if you want to learn more about me in general, spirituallyinspired.co/podcast. Whatever your
yay.
choice. Thank
I love
you.
it. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Sara Rae. This has been amazing. And for everybody watching and or listening, be sure to check out the description box and show notes for how you can connect with Sara. Also, don't forget to grab our self-love journal. It is a really great companion piece. And also check out our newsletter. It is 100% free to join, and you get a free self-love guide. And if you need extra guidance, you can grab some one-on-one coaching or check out some of our courses down below. My favorite one is the Art of Self-Love Masterclass. That's my favorite one. So, but check them out and see what you guys need. And as always, if you feel so inclined, be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel and the podcast, and also share this with a friend. Your journey to self-love and self-worth and manifesting the life of your dreams is always better with a little bit of support. And just share it with someone who also might need it as well, someone who might really find value in this. And as always, you guys, take care of yourself and each other. Until next time, I love you. Bye.